Hey guys, so in this video I want to teach you about a very important tool in the programmer's toolkit, and that tool is the for loop. So what a for loop basically allows you to do is tell the computer to do a given set of instructions over and over again for a specific number of times. And with that, let's get into it. So I've created this file here called for loops example program, and inside my file we have a for loop. So let's look at the anatomy of this for loop in a little bit more detail so we can better understand how it works. To create a for loop, we type in the word for. We hit enter a few times for white space. This is where the body or the actual commands of the for loop will exist. And then we type in the word end. And this is similar to when we created files by typing in the word function, doing white space for the body of the file, and then typing in end. So now that we know how to create a for loop by typing in for and then typing in end, let's look at the body, the white space, the actual instructions of the for loop. And in this case, there's only one instruction, to display the words hello world over and over again. And if you'll notice, this display command is actually indented. And this is true of all for loops in MATLAB. All the instructions of a for loop must be indented one indentation further than the beginning of the word for. As you can see in this case, the display command is one indentation further than the beginning of for. And also by MATLAB convention, one indentation is equal to 4 spaces. So we can verify that by going 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces, and 4 spaces. So an indentation is equal to 4 spaces. And it's very important that you indent all the commands within a for loop. If you don't do this correctly, MATLAB will get confused and the for loop won't execute correctly. So now that we've seen the body of a for loop, let's look at this part of the for loop. And this part of the for loop really tells how many times the computer needs to execute these instructions. And so we do this by typing in a variable, and I'm using the variable I here. This is actually a very common variable to use in MATLAB for loops. But again, you can use whatever you want, typing in equals, and then typing in a range. And this range here says start at 0, move up integer-wise, all the way up to 10. So that means this for loop is going to display the words hello world from 0 to 10. So it's going to display hello world a total of 11 times. And so let's verify that. So if I run the program, we get hello world once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. Good. So let's experiment a little bit more with this range so you guys can better understand it. What happens if I change this 0 to a 1? Well, that means we're going to start at 1, move up integer-wise all the way up to 10. So instead of displaying hello world 11 times, it's only going to display it 10 times. And let's verify that. So I run the program again and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Now, what happens if I was to reverse the numbers? I go from 10 to 1. Well, in this case, nothing is going to display. So I run it again, and nothing displays here. So in most for loops, you're actually going to start with a smaller number and move to a bigger number. But what's also cool about for loops is you don't have to move in this integer fashion. You can actually move in partial increments. And we can do it like this. Let's say I start at 0, and I want to move in half increments, and I go all the way up to 10. This is going to display hello world many more times, a total of 21, I believe. And so when we run it, you can see it displays hello world many more times. What's also interesting about these for loops is we can actually use this variable we declared here within the body of the for loop. And I'll show you by doing this. Let's say I want to display I times 2 each time. So what's this going to do? Well, in the first iteration, I is equal to 0. So it's going to display 0 times 2 is 0. Then on the second iteration, 0 moves up by half, so we move up to a half now. So it's going to do 1/2 times 2, which is 1. And then it's going to go up by another half, and so this I is going to be equal to 1. So then it's going to do 1 times 2, which is 2. And it's going to keep doing that all the way up to 10 times 2, 20. So if we run the program, we can see it goes from 0 all the way up to 20. And so this is very powerful. If you want to use a number that's continually changing over and over and over, you can actually use the variable of a for loop within the for loop itself. So I hope this video helped you a little bit about for loops. We're going to do a few more within this lecture series. But if you guys are still confused, I would look at the MATLAB documentation. I found this page for loops, and I think it might be really useful. So If you guys are still confused, do take a look at it. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one.